What's happening, everyone? I am Brad with UnwiredView.com. I am here to unleash and unravel the mysteries that lie within this behemoth of a phone, the HTC Inspire 4G from AT&T. Yeah, I am such a dork. I don't care though, because I am really eager to show off the Inspire 4G because there's a lot of great things about this phone. There's a few things that weren't so great. So stay tuned. We're going to get straight into it. I had a few days to play around with it, and it is a lot of fun. Okay, the HTC Inspire 4G, well, it is the same as Desire HD, just rebranded. So it's working on AT&T. It's subsidized for $99.99 on AT&T's network with a new contract. No mail-in rebate, by the way, which is quite nice. The Inspire 4G is actually the first phone that we've seen on AT&T's network. Well, the first one with 4G, and also the first 4.3-inch screen. Very comparable to the Evo 4G if you think about it. You'll see a lot of similarities overall because really HTC likes to treat each phone very similar to each other. It has a lot of the same kinds of features. It has the HTC Sense in it. And so looking at this thing, first and foremost, you'll notice not only the large display, but you're also going to notice the Super LCD screen. So this is HTC's answer to the Retina display on the Apple or the QHD on the Motorola or several others. Basically everyone is coming out with their own high resolution display to compete with each other. So the Super LCD is HTC's answer to it, and it's still a WVGA display. It is absolutely gorgeous, and all the colors come out wonderfully. Very easy to see everything. I haven't had any issue with seeing anything on the display. So with that said, let's take a look at a few other things about the phone. Now it comes with the standard keys, the touch-sensitive ones. We've got the home, menu, go back, and search. So nothing crazy new about that, especially with HTC. In fact, when you're looking at the entire design itself, all of this should look incredibly familiar because HTC likes to keep this trademark type of look, where all their phones tend to have this brushed aluminum on the back. Now, one thing that makes this one unique versus many other competing phones out there is that all of this is a unibody design. So it's all just part of the same body itself. And instead of having its own separate back cover that it can be easily separated, really all you have are the doors here to get the SIM card and the micro SD card out. I'm not going to do it right now because it takes forever, and getting the battery and the SIM card and all that out is just ridiculous. But same here with this door, where once you actually get it open, then the battery just slides right on out. So that's one thing that's quite unique to this design, and quite frankly, I really like it that way. This brushed aluminum here, it doesn't leave any fingerprints, and it feels very, very solid. It does add a little bit of weight to it, which you're already going to have a larger or a heavier weight to it compared to, let's say, Samsung Galaxy S or something of that nature, just because of that aluminum build. So with the more solid design, the more weight there is. But frankly, you don't feel like it's going to just bust in your hands. Like, you're not going to just drop it and have it break into a million pieces. At least that's how it feels anyways. So we haven't really put that to the test. We haven't tried to actually drop it or anything. And frankly, I don't know if HTC would really like us trying that too many times. So, but anyways, as far as the build itself, it feels very solid. Looking further into the Inspire 4G, the Inspire 4G has HTC Sense, of course, but it has a few enhancements to it that we haven't seen in too many HTC phones before. We are starting to see it come out more often, like the HTC Thunderbolt, for example, should have the revamped HTC Sense. So, don't mind me, I'm just pressing random buttons here. But when we hit the home button, you can see the familiar screen here pop up where you can see all 7 of the different home screen panels. The difference is that I can actually go through and change it around. So let's zoom in there. So I can change the actual home screen itself. So if you don't want to have that iconic clock that you always see in every picture of an HTC phone, well, you don't have to have it on the very home screen. Now, as would happen, I actually quite enjoy having that clock there. Really, I don't have a watch, so I just use the clock on my phone all the time. So it's nice to have a big, nice clock there. It shows the weather widget. That's all I'm saying, really. Also looking into it, we have the little button on the bottom right. This is more of a customization screen. Normally when you press that button with any other Android, well, let's say vanilla Android, because each user interface does its own thing. But with any vanilla Android, you can press that little plus button down there and it'll pop up just these 4 options: the widget, apps, shortcut, and folder. The thing is, HTC's done their own little thing where if you see here, it's as if you're like painting or something, and you know, I can understand the symbolism because hey, you're personalizing it, you're making it your own. It's like you're painting your very own customized user interface. Sound silly enough? I thought so. Okay, moving on. So when you go into this personalization screen, you're seeing HTC scenes, wallpapers, skins, all these things that are like the wallpapers. You can find those for any device, that's fine, but HTC does throw in a few of their own of all of these. Now when you go in to check out the scenes, just to tell you a little bit about what the scenes are, these are just customized to whatever your specific needs are. If there's a different category that you emphasize more than others, let's say you are more into the social networking, social media than anything else, then you can have your very own scene, and all the home screen panels are going to be geared more towards you as a social networking kind of person. For me, my current one is work, just because I have a lot of, well, I do a lot of work. I've got a lot on my plate, so I like having this particular scene on there. But I can go in and let's say I don't like any of these here, then I can go in to get more. What this does is it brings me into the HTC Hub. And it was pulling up just to, oh, there we go. Okay, so I can go in, and these are all just through HTC's own server. They have plenty of different options that I can choose from. So if I'm a music lover, ooh, okay, well, let's go in and download that. And we'll get to play around with that in just a moment. But this kind of stuff, well, I probably won't bore you with playing with it, but it's nice to know you have this ability to go in, and not only for scenes where you can download new scenes, but you can also get new skins and wallpapers, and heck, you can even do like alarm tones and things like that. So there's a lot available. So let's say you wanted to look at all the different options. Well, you can go in here to the HTC Hub, and this is something that you're going to notice on pretty much any HTC phone that has the new Sense on it. So looking at these things, you have a few different things that you can choose from. Let's say you want to look at the different widgets. This will just load up here in just a moment. These widgets, HTC has come out with a few of their own that I actually found quite handy. It's taking too long. Oh, there we go. Of course, as soon as I say something. So looking at this thing here, quite a few different widgets. My favorites are the battery and the translator. I really like having the translator on there, actually. Let me go in and show you. Translator here, I can actually use this widget. I don't even have to go into a special app or anything. I can just type in whatever I want. Oops. And this will tell me how to say it. Chinese, I don't really know Chinese very well. Let's try Danish. Hey there? I don't really know how to say that, so I worry that I'm going to just completely torture it. So I'm sorry. Now, going in and looking at a few other things here. Oops, not that one. This one. The Inspire 4G has a few firsts, or has a few unique things to it, especially when it comes to being an AT&T phone. So of course it was the first that had the 4G, the first 4.3-inch screen, so we know all that. But there's a few other things that they throw in there. For example, it is the first to have Wi-Fi hotspot, where you can actually broadcast up to broadcast a signal to connect to up to 5 different devices. And this is going to come in really handy to anyone that's just looking for replacing out their hotel Wi-Fi so they don't have to spend a lot of extra money. Basically what you're doing is you're spending an extra $20 on top of your 2 GB plan with a smartphone. You get the $20 extra and it gives you 2 extra gigabytes. So you're getting a total of 4 that you can broadcast out as part of this Wi-Fi hotspot. So I definitely wanted to show that one off as well. A couple other things, transfer data. This comes in really handy because you can actually choose what your old phone was, and if you're trying to move over your text messages, your contacts, even your calendar appointments, you can go in here and say, hey, I had a BlackBerry Curve, and then it'll give me the option of going in and just Bluetoothing all this information over from one phone to another. And this comes in very, very handy because, let's face it, it takes a lot of work to get everything set up on your computer, to back everything up, get it all synced right up with your new phone. So this is just aimed to help make it a little bit simpler, eliminate a step in the process. One last thing that I find really handy actually, and it doesn't seem like such a big deal, and I almost didn't even notice it at first, but it was for blocked callers. Hang on here just a second. I'm just getting all sorts of fingerprints on there, so let me get rid of that. So blocked callers. So I can go in, and there's certain people that I just don't want calling me anymore. Well, I can add them to my block list, so they're not calling me. When they do call, they just go straight to the voicemail. So they don't realize that you've just completely rejected them. So that way nobody's really hurt. No feelings are hurt. They just won't realize that you're never going to talk to them again. That's all. Nothing big. So now I really like having this on here because if you take a look at a lot of the other smartphones, especially on AT&T's network, you don't have an option like this. Rather, what you have to do is pay a $5 a month charge for something called Smart Limits, where you can go in and you can say exactly these phones that you want blocked. It just changes it out in the system, so it won't even leave a voicemail, whereas with this one will. So it's not completely perfect by any means, but it's a heck of a lot better than having nothing at all on there, which is the case with most of these phones. So those are just a few things about the Inspire 4G. Just to cover a few other things here, this is a gigahertz processor with 768 megs of RAM, which nowadays, you take a look at the other phones that were announced at CES and Mobile World Congress, and you're starting to see these dual-core Snapdragon processors that just can go crazy, blazingly fast. And so this one's just a single-core gigahertz processor, but when you couple it with the 768 megs of RAM, it's not too bad. And then you add in the fact that it's got the HTC Sense UI. This kind of user interface to me, where most other user interfaces just bog down the Android experience, in my personal opinion, the HTC Sense seems to enhance it and just make it a little bit better. So that's one kudos that I give to HTC for just making a very good quality interface that I just enjoy using. It's very user friendly to me. So just to say that. And a few other items on the Inspire 4G. It has 8 gigs of micro SD already stored inside. Got that nice little chip. And then besides that, you have maybe a gig of internal storage space. Not a ton. But if you have a 32 gig or 16 gig, you can always throw that in there instead of this 8 and have a lot more storage space. So just a nice little word about that. It also has a 1230 milliamp battery to it, which means that you're going to get roughly around 6.5 hours of constant battery life. It's going to last you a lot longer than that if you're not consistently on it. But for me, I use everything on here, all the different apps and emails and all sorts of crazy stuff. So for me, it's going to last most of the day, and just like an iPhone where I need to charge it up every night. So just be expecting that with this one. The battery life on it, with it being Froyo and being a little bit more battery efficient, it does last longer than some of the Androids in the past. So for what it's worth, it's much better battery life, and it's getting better as we go along. Just one other thing to point out, and this is kind of a disappointment to me. Over the last week or so, there have been some revelations that the HSUPA part of the 4G, that's the uploading part, it's not actually enabled on the Inspire 4G, and there's a lot of speculation as to why this is the case. And we're just pulling up an example here. Right now, I'm not in a 4G area, so you'll have to forgive me for it not being like very fast. I've seen it get up to 2 to 3 megabits per second in my area, but this is about average to get, you know, maybe 1.5 meg. But then you look over here at the uploading, and that's a huge difference, and it doesn't really pick up too much when you're in a 4G area. So the uploading part of the 4G experience has just been disabled for some reason, and there's a lot of speculation as to why. We're hoping that this is going to change over the next couple months as 4G just becomes more prevalent, but we're not 100% sure on when that's going to happen. But this is just, to me, I upload a lot of stuff, and I would like to be able to tether my phone to my computer, upload stuff to YouTube, and do it in a pretty fast manner. So it's kind of frustrating to me that this just isn't enabled, even though it's being called a 4G phone. If you're going to call it a 4G phone, you got to have everything 4G. I'm sorry, that's just the way I look at it, and I'm pretty sure I'm not alone there. If you're going to have 4G, make it a true 4G phone, not just 4G download, but 4G down and up. So that's all I've got to say on that. Now, as far as performance on the phone itself, I haven't had any issues concerning the speed, the processor failing on me. There's been very little sluggishness, little bits here and there, but just nothing beyond the norm. So for me, it's been very sufficient for my needs, and for a mid-range $99 phone, yeah, it's not dual core, but I'm okay with that. I can deal with not having dual core for that kind of price range. So that's just the way I look at it. And also the call quality is perfectly fine. I didn't have any issues hearing people, and vice versa. So these are just a few notes about the Inspire 4G. I've gone on for a very long time talking about it, so I have even more to say in my review. If you check out my review at unwiredview.com, the HTC Inspire 4G from AT&T. What?